Hi, it is Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. It's election day here in America. Um, but I elected not to go vote today. Um, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't make any difference which daddy figure is placed in charge. Because none of them have any idea um, the extent of the problems we are facing or how to address those problems. And if they ever become interested in those solutions, they can read my book. If anyone else becomes interested in those solutions, they can do the same. And until then, my work here is done. Um, you know, this inflation won't stop, it won't slow down, and it doesn't matter who's in office. The bond market collapse won't stop, it won't slow down, and it doesn't matter who's in office. The reckless spending of government won't slow down, won't stop, and it won't matter who's in office. Maybe this guy wants to control this aspects of your life. This guy wants to control this aspect of your life. To me, they can both go fuck themselves. And I'm not fucking voting for you. No matter how many stupid little TV commercials, how many harassing fucking text messages you want to send me, I'm still not fucking interested. And if you want to reply to this video with your comments about why I should care, you can do so. And I can pretty much guarantee you that I still will not care. I did vote in 2020, but looking back on it, I regret it because I think the person I voted for was a tyrant. I think he's a blowhard. I think he's arrogant, and he's not someone that I want setting the rules for our society. So that's that. I left my employment a few weeks ago. I had previously worked as a tax accountant, but have felt like I no longer want to participate in helping people along those lines with their tax compliance. I think it's an unjust, a cruel, and an evil system, an evil regime, and I'm just not interested in taking money to help people comply with it at this point in my life. Maybe at a later point I'll get desperate, need the money, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping I'm able to find some other sources of income, and I've been working on that, and it's been some research and development. It's been a lot of studying, a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, and excuse me just 1 minute. I've been under the weather this past few days, and that's really set me back. I've just really been basically laying in bed the last 5 days. I had a fever over the weekend. I think that's finally gone. But I've had some chest congestion that's been continuing, so I've just been kind of laid up this last couple days. I'm thinking tomorrow I'm going to take a crack at kind of getting back out there. I don't think my cough is so active anymore, and my fever's gone, so it's an occasional cough, and it's some residual congestion in my chest, but excuse me, wow, I guess there is still something there, but hopefully it clears up overnight, and I've got some medication I can take. I also have a growth of some kind on my chest, kind of at the bottom base of my rib cage. I don't know what it is, but I've decided that I'm just not interested in talking to any doctors. I went and saw a doctor a little while ago and really just felt that he was extremely incompetent, kind of delusional, very ungrounded. He didn't do any of the standard kind of tests you'd expect a doctor to do at a standard checkup, and kind of sent me on a couple of wild goose chases with some stuff, and it ended up costing me a little bit of money, not really accomplishing much. And I just, they were kind of still doing the masks and stuff, and they were still real interested in the vaccine, and it just kind of made me realize that, these people, as well as I can tell, they really don't have much of a clue about what they're doing, and I just am not really willing to put my health into their hands. Furthermore, if this lump is something serious, and maybe that's got something to do with this cough that I got now, death is something I've longed for, to be frank. This existence has not been a joyful one for me. I don't enjoy being alive. I don't feel good about my life. I don't feel good about the world. I don't enjoy interacting with most people. And, the sad truth is, if it weren't for my children, I probably would have taken my own life years ago. And, they've prevented me from doing that. But I just don't have a really strong will to try to fight whatever this thing is, and I don't have a real high confidence in the medical system or in doctors, and I feel okay about that decision. It's just where I'm at, and I don't know, of course, what it is. I don't know how serious it is or what the implications are, but if it turns out that it is something serious and I'm not around here much longer, please just know that that's a decision I made for myself. That I actually re-quoted this tweet earlier, I think it was Socrates, saying he thought death might be the greatest blessing in this universe, and I believe that to be the case. That's a twofold statement. Part of that is simply escaping the pain and the suffering of this world, which is tremendous. We can look around, and for me, the suffering, the pain begins with, I guess it begins with my own life and the disconnection and the loss that I've suffered. But it also, on a grand scale, it exists everywhere, and all these wars and all this poverty and just all this hell that exists here. These cruel people who just place social approval above really everything else, and I know that for them is just, they're desperate for love, they're desperate for connection, they're desperate for acceptance, and that's a desire that our Creator has instilled within us, and I can't fault them for having that desire. Not everyone's a fucking hero. Not everyone is willing to say that I will emotionally suffer myself because it's the right thing to do. In fact, very, very few people seem willing to do anything like that. And it's a path that I've chosen. It's a path that I've taken because this world is temporary, man. And whether or not there's a world beyond, the good that we can do in this world, by my estimation, is much greater than the joy we might provide ourselves as individuals through such mechanisms, you know. I don't want a false sense of love that comes only from complying with the way other people think I'm supposed to act, you know. If I ever had love, if I ever want love, then the love I want is unconditional. The love I want is real love, is me as I am, and not me because I'm the way they want me to be to fulfill their objectives. It's a love that, you know, it exists in places. You know, my father's always been very kind, and, you know, my mother's been kind to me in her way. I believe that my children care for me as I am. You know, I have friendships that I believe do have a real foundation of connection. Some of those are less deep than others, but there is love there, and there is love here, and I know there are places I can go on this planet where I can feel a sense of connection, and the stupid thing is, really, wherever there's a lonely person, there's an opportunity to find connection. And, you know, I found connection with some real lonely fucking people in this world, and you know, those experiences have been pure and worthwhile, and you know, when the pain of existing here has been great, those are the places that I have sought, or that God has sent me, I guess. And He's given me what I've needed to walk through that pain. And you know, if I get to the point of dying from natural fucking causes, I'm gonna feel like I have accomplished everything that my Creator has tasked me with here. You know, I turned my will and my life over to God 15 years ago. And, you know, 5 years ago, I felt as though I was on the cusp of death after my neighbor saw fit to choke me out in his front yard. And I felt like I had a choice to move on to a heavenly world or to remain here, and that I chose to remain here as an act of service to the people on this planet who I cared about. And I still believe that that higher existence, that heavenly world does exist. You know, it felt to me like I had anchored it here, and I still believe that we have all the tools we need to turn this world into heaven. Again, if you're interested, my book is available, and I know it's $20, and maybe that's a lot of money. I figured as inflation got worse, it wouldn't seem like so much, but I don't think book inflation is that high because it's just not it's more of a luxury item, I guess. You know, if I ever finish my second edition, the price I'm hoping to bring down, and I'm hoping to do an ebook, I'm just not there yet. So, you know, I've got a list, I've got a schedule, I got things I want to do, and, you know, the book is on the list, but there's some things I need to do before I get to that, and I don't know what tomorrow holds, what the next week, the next month holds. I don't know how long I'll be here, and I don't know how much longer this economy is going to hold before the big collapse. You know, gold has started to break out. To me, what's happening in the markets right now is very significant because you're not seeing a general rise in equity the way you're seeing in gold. What that says to me is that the bid that gold's catching isn't the bid that says the Fed's gonna reverse course and start easing again, but is a safe haven bid, which is the underlying bid which will, I believe, send gold to the fucking moon. I think beauty is possibly the most undervalued. I think kindness and beauty are the two most undervalued, I want to say, commodities in existence, although it's a little funny to call them commodities because an individual's beauty is individual to that person and is in a way unique, and a person's kindness, a person's capacity for kindness is also an individual thing, and it's strengthened as they shed tears and as they emotionally strengthen themselves. Their capacity for good, as their knowledge increases, their capacity for good increases. And so that's not a total commodity, but okay, whatever they are, I think those two things have been greatly undervalued. And you know, God at times has shown me amazing things, and then, you know, it goes away, and I forget, and I go back to the routine and the shit and the thinking, oh, how can anything ever work out? And but he has shown me, you know, and I can remember that, and I can remember that experience from 5 years ago, and I can consider the fact that love exists in this world, that this world is so fucking beautiful, and I can consider to myself that the creator of the universe is a powerful being, you know, to have created something so majestic. And even if we suspend judgment on whether that creator is a good creator or a bad creator, seems to me that love is the greatest thing in this world. And if I were the creator, that's something that I would want. So I believe that I demonstrate love. I believe I do this through empathy, through holding space for others, listening and seeking to understand, and also being honest, even when the honesty I express is an unpopular bit of truth. And, you know, I've held the line, man. I've stuck by my principles, and I'm not God, but if I were God and I were to judge man and I were to say, well, I think these people are worthy and these people aren't, well, I would think I am pretty fucking worthy, man. So it's another good reason for me not to fear death, and for you not to be saddened by my passing if it happens, other than the fact that you just won't get to see me for a while. You know, there's a lot of good people who've passed from this world, my grandfather among them. You know, I've known other people who have passed who seemed like good people to me. My friend Julian, I know he was a drunk, but I don't think he was a bad person. I just think he was a guy like me trying to feel a little better. Yeah, I was reading some of Khalil Gibran's The Prophet the other day. He talks about sorrow and joy and how they're really connected with each other. He says, he talks about, okay, actually, I'm sorry. He talks about good and sorrow and joy was interesting, but good and evil was also interesting, and how he was talking about how evil is really just, it's people seeking their desires that God's given them, and the true desire that people have is for romantic love. And I don't think he said that in that section, but if we apply that to romantic love, we can see that what they actually are seeking for themselves is actually a good thing, is actually something that, if true, would be a positive sum game, would be two people bringing each other joy that was greater than the net joy that existed before they met each other. And so it's like we're all seeking good things, you know, and people rationalize the hurt they cause to others and the sacrifices of other people that they make in their pursuit of joy. You know, I had an experience recently where I felt like I had sacrificed a friend's feelings in pursuit of my own joy. And I had felt like it had been a worthy sacrifice towards that end, because I felt like, were I to know that joy, others would see that joy. So now I can get back to what Khalil said about sorrow and joy. He said, the greater sorrow you've known, the greater capacity for joy you have, because what is sorrow but the absence of that which brings you joy? You know, someone dies, we feel sorrow. We feel sorrow because we feel their absence. Because they brought us joy, you know. And sometimes someone departs our life. Traditionally, romantic breakup is the classic here. And we feel sorrow because they brought us joy. And I felt, with all the sorrow that I felt, that my joy would be so great that people would want to know, how the fuck do you feel so good, kid? And then maybe they'd be interested in the things I have to say, and then I could kind of show people how good it could be for everyone, were we to throw away these bad ideas that we have and live our lives in accordance with our own hearts. And not in accordance with social conventions and government rules. So, this lump in my chest might be something altogether different than a malicious tumor. It could be something God's put there, and maybe it could be something that someday will grow into wings, I talked about angels in my book. I said I believed that the transfer of information that would happen with this romantic connection, perhaps that information would need a physical medium to be stored in. That's just science, I've been listening to people for a lot of years, man. And people are willing to give away a lot of information because they want other people to understand them and they want other people to like them. And, a lot of information a lot of people have given away has had a lot of value. And maybe were they to revisit that, they would have thought to themselves, maybe I shouldn't have given that away. But it's too late now, The information's out there. I've learned it. And I've applied it in pursuit of my objectives, which on this planet has largely been to, well, I've had various objectives. I've sought to increase my personal wealth because, I feel like I'm a good custodian of wealth, that I will justly administer my wealth to good effect. And B, I feel like I am worthy of wealth, for I feel like I am good. And therefore it's felt just to pursue my own wealth. I've just been thinking about some stuff, man. This sickness has really slowed me down this last 5 days, I've watched like 4 or 5 movies on TV. I probably haven't watched more than 5 movies on TV plus movie theater combined in the last 5 years before this weekend. So, in a way, it's been nice to just have an excuse to relax and not have to be on the grind. I've worked really hard with my various pursuits. Writing my book was a big deal. The second edition's also been a big deal. I have this list of things to do, and I feel bad for my Aunt Philippa, who I've been meaning to write to for months, and I haven't been able to prioritize that over some of the other things I've been putting in front of that. And it's unfortunate, but I feel great faith. She had cancer this year it came and it went, and whether she passes from this world, whether I pass from this world, I believe that we will have an opportunity to catch up at some point. And, part of the reason I haven't replied to her is because her notes were on my first edition, and I've been working on my second edition, but the bulk of that work is as far as the physical work of the actual revision. You know, a lot of the work I've been doing has been research and things like that. But as far as the actual revisions of the book and the nuts and bolts, a lot of that is still in front of me, and there's some other stuff that's in front of that. So it's like, it's not really, hasn't really fit into like my order of where I'm doing stuff. And so if you see this, Philippa, I am very regretful that it's taken this long, and I hope you're doing okay. I imagine things are tough over there right now with inflation and all that's going on. I wish you the best, and you are on my list of things, you know, to do. We just don't know what the future holds, you know. Every year it seems less likely that I'll ever make it back there to visit, but the world can change, man. The economy will collapse, and when it does, people will be desperate, and when people have the desperation that hopelessness brings, it can inspire willingness, because the uncertainty of something like freedom can start to inspire hope rather than fear. You know, right now everyone fears losing their jobs and their freedoms and their health and their investments, and so there's fear basically has been driving people. It's been the primary motivator for almost everyone. But desperation requires people to gamble, you know. And when you're faced with oblivion, a chance not to die and perish starts to look better, you know. So I guess overall, I feel as though God's got this, man. I just feel as though things are the way they're supposed to be, man. You know, for whatever reason, I was supposed to get sick